Hello, everyone. In this video, we will be discussing pricing. Pricing is one of the most important aspects of any business. It's more than just setting a number on a product, it's about understanding how pricing influences your customer and your business. When we talk about pricing, we have to balance two key factors: internal and external. Internally, we need to consider things like our costs and our objectives. For example, are we pricing to maximize profit, or are we pricing to gain market share quickly? On the external side, we look at factors like competition and customer demand. So, what are your competitors charging, and what are your customers willing to pay for that product? The idea of price versus perceived value is especially important. Have you ever bought something and felt like it was either a great deal or way too expensive for what it was? So that's the concept of perceived value. Customers don't just look at the price, they think about whether the price matches the value they're getting. A good example here is Jollibee. You might see their pricing as affordable, but it still gives the feeling of value because of the brand's quality and emotional connection, which it has built over the years with its customers. On the flip side, if a product is priced too high, customers might feel like they're being ripped off, and that can damage a brand's reputation. We also need to consider price floors and price ceilings. A price floor is the lowest price you can charge to still be profitable. Imagine a small store that is selling soft drinks. The owner of the store cannot price the soft drinks lower than what they pay their suppliers. Otherwise, the store would obviously lose money. On the other hand, a price ceiling is the highest price customers are willing to pay. If you go beyond that, you risk losing them to competitors who are offering a similar product but for a lower price. So, pricing really comes down to finding that sweet spot where you cover costs, meet objectives, and also be able to deliver value to your customers. Consumer psychology plays a big role in pricing. So, have you ever noticed how prices are often set at something like 999 pesos instead of 1000 pesos? Or how you're more likely to buy something if it's on sale? That's consumer psychology at work. Pricing isn't just about numbers, it's about how customers perceive those numbers. First, let's talk about reference prices. These are the prices that customers use to compare when evaluating a product. Let's say you want to buy a new pair of sneakers. If you've bought sneakers before, you probably have an idea in your head of what a quote unquote fair price should be. That's your reference price. Retailers know about the reference price and they often use discounts to manipulate reference prices. Have you ever bought something because it was 50% off, even though you weren't actually planning to buy it in the first place? That's because you compared the discounted price to the original price, and suddenly the discounted price seemed like a deal too good to pass up. Another aspect is image pricing. This is where the price of a product reflects its brand image or perceived quality. Take, for example, a branded clothing store. Its prices can be higher than other clothing brands, but they're perceived as offering better quality and more fashionable designs. Customers are willing to pay more because they associate the brand with a certain level of style and quality. Then there's also odd number pricing, or prices ending in numbers such as 9 or 4 or some other number, giving the perception of affordability. It may seem like a small detail, but studies show that people are more likely to buy something priced at 499 than at 500. It's all psychological. Even if it's just 1 peso difference, 499 pesos feels like a bargain, while 500 pesos feels more expensive. Similarly, limited time offers create a sense of urgency, making customers feel like they need to buy now or miss out on a great deal. A great example of this is discounted flight tickets offered by local airlines such as Cebu Pacific, AirAsia, or Philippine Airlines. Even if you did not have any plans to travel, the limited time offer on low ticket prices creates pressure to buy now, then later at a higher flight ticket price. So, pricing strategies are not just about logic, they're deeply tied to how customers think and how they feel. When we set prices, we always start with our pricing objectives. This is about asking, what do we want to achieve with our pricing? Different businesses have different objectives depending on their situation. Sometimes a company wants to maximize its short term profit, and other times it's more focused on capturing market share or leading the market in quality. Let's start with short term profit. Imagine a business selling face masks during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. Their objective might have been to maximize profits while demand was high because people spent more time at home and they invested more on skincare and beauty regimens. So the company set prices higher because they knew people needed the product now. But this comes at a risk. Higher prices can turn off customers in the long run. So it's a delicate balance that companies need to play. Next, we have market penetration. This is all about pricing low to enter a new market and attract a lot of customers quickly. A good example is when Shopee first entered the Philippine market. They offered massive discounts and free shipping to get customers to use their platform. Their goal was not to make immediate profits, but to build market share and loyalty. Over time, they adjusted their prices and strategies to focus more on affordability or on profitability rather. On the other hand, market skimming is the opposite strategy. Companies that use market skimming set high prices when a product first launches to maximize early profits from customers who are willing to pay more. You see this a lot in the technology industry, especially with smartphones. When the latest gadget is released, a company may set a premium price to quote unquote skim the top layer of customers, or those who want the newest model no matter the cost. Over time, it can lower the price as more competitors release similar products. Lastly, there's quality leadership. Some companies want to position themselves as the best in the market, and they use pricing to reflect that. Brands like Samsung and Huawei use this strategy for their flagship smartphones. They set high prices because they want their products to be seen as top of the line in terms of features and innovation. So, defining your pricing objective is key because it shapes everything else in your pricing strategy. Before setting a price, we need to understand how price will affect demand. This is where price elasticity of demand comes in. Price elasticity measures how sensitive customers are to changes in price. If a product is price elastic, even a small price change can lead to a big change in demand. For example, if you increase the price of a cup of milk tea by 10 pesos, you might see a noticeable drop in sales because there are many competitors selling milk tea. In contrast, price inelastic products are less sensitive to price changes. Think of basic necessities like rice or water. Even if prices go up, people will still buy them because they are essential. However, it's not always that simple. Sometimes customer sensitivity to price depends on the situation. For instance, during peak travel seasons, airfare tends to be more inelastic because people have no choice but to pay higher prices if they want to travel. Another concept that helps us determine the right price is the price indifference band. This refers to the range of prices where customers won't change their purchasing behavior. Let's say you regularly buy coffee at 150 pesos. You might be okay if the price increases at or the price increases to 160 pesos. But if it jumps to 200 pesos, you will probably think twice before repurchasing. The price indifference band is useful for companies because it allows them to adjust prices slightly without losing customers. Understanding demand and how price affects it is crucial for finding the balance between profit and customer satisfaction. When setting prices, we also need to consider our costs. After all, you can't set a price lower than what it costs to produce the product, or obviously you will lose money. There are fixed costs and variable costs. Fixed costs are things like rent and salaries that don't change no matter how much you produce. For example, whether a cafe sells 10 cups of coffee or 100 cups of coffee, their rent will remain the same. Variable costs, on the other hand, change with production. The more coffee you sell, the more beans, sugar, and cups you will need. So your variable costs go up. But it's not just about fixed and variable costs. We also have to think about total costs and average costs. Total costs are simply the sum of fixed and variable costs. Let's say your cafe's rent is 10,000 pesos per month, which is the fixed cost. And the cost to make 1 cup of coffee, including beans, milk, and labor, is 30 pesos. And that is your variable cost. If you sell 100 cups in a month, your total cost will be 10,000 pesos, which is your fixed cost, plus 3,000 pesos, which is your variable cost, or a total of 13,000 pesos. To figure out your average cost, you divide the total cost by the number of units produced. In this case, it would be 13,000 pesos divided by 100 cups of coffee. So your average cost per cup is 130 pesos. One more thing to consider is the experience curve, which shows that the more you produce, the lower your costs get. For example, if you're manufacturing gadgets, you might start with higher costs due to inefficiencies. But as you produce more units, you get better at it, and your costs go down. This can lead to experience curve pricing, where companies set lower prices early on because they expect to reduce costs over time through efficiency gains. Understanding these different types of costs helps businesses set prices that cover expenses and allow for profitability.